think we'll go ahead and get started. This is the System Administrators Special Interest Group, and there is an agenda. I sent it out in the email. If you don't have it, let me grab the link here real quick. But there's really not anything on the agenda today. My volume turned up. So the first thing we usually do is start with an announcement. My announcement that I have today is I've actually attached a survey to the agenda. It's just some questions about what we want to see with this group. If you guys would like the agenda sooner, what sorts of things you want to cover when we meet. Go ahead and fill it out whenever you have time, hopefully before the next meeting in October. If you're just joining us, there's a link in the chat to the agenda for today. And the only thing on the agenda so far is a survey that I would love to have you do at some point over the next month. Does anybody else have any announcements for the group?
Hi. Every paid member should have gotten an email yesterday about the development vote. Voting is open and the votes are rolling in. So yeah, you should have gotten an email. If you didn't, email info@koha-us.org and we'll get you added to the list. That's it.
I know that I've been having trouble accessing the Koha-US site from my work because it's being blocked by our firewall. So I just know that it works from my phone and from home. So if you need to vote, try that. It should probably get you in to get voting on the development. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is any questions. I know we met kind of at Koha-US, the group. We all have probably had a lot of things that those of us that attended that we talked about might not have a lot to bring to today. But I think I want to make this meeting just kind of be casual, laid back, ask questions and go from there. So does anybody have anything they want to ask?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jenice Tate with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Look, I just popped on. I thought I had the wrong the wrong link. I am getting ready to do a test server on-prem. And so I put in I was asking a question in the ticket about backing up data because our production Bywater hosts that. And so getting the backup from Bywater, is that something that I necessarily have to do, or can I just run the export of all the records within the production server, within the tools? I mean, up on the cataloging, there's a thing where you can export all the records, and then I can import those into my production. In my test server, I'm sorry. And that will work instead of going through Bywater to do all that?
I would say it depends on the extent of the data you want ported over. So Bywater hosts our test server, so they can easily like pull the entire SQL database and then like refresh our test server. So if you're just caring about mark data, then you can definitely use the mark export. But if you're also wanting like an exact duplication of your production server with patron circ data, that sort of stuff, then you would probably want to put in a ticket and ask them for that file.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're just testing mark data, then you could easily just use the tool in cataloging to pull down all your records and then upload them.
Okay. All right. Has anyone already been upgraded to 25? Being an early partner?
Just our test server.
Okay. How is it compared to the previous version?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen any really like show-stopping kind of events. So
Okay.
luckily this upgrade seems like it's a fairly standard upgrade. Not anything, not like the last one. The last one had a lot going on. This one seems like it's just, unless you're doing acquisitions, which I don't. So
No, we don't do acquisitions either. No, we
bless
don't.
those acquisitions people. They're a lovely group. But yeah, that stuff is scary. So
Okay.
but yeah,
Alright.
I mimic what Jason says. We just have Bywater sync our data a couple times a year, usually after upgrades or if we do any kind of major adjustments to things that we want to try. We put in a ticket and they'll sync everything. And that
Okay.
seems to be the easiest way to do it.
Okay. Look, I was held to a strict budget, so I couldn't add the test server for Bywater to host. So I'm gonna do it on prem.
So I came in late, but I think we have the same setup you do where we have our own test server in-house and Bywater hosts the live production server.
Mhm.
And we worked with them to set up a once a month. They send us we set up an SFTP site on our test server and they send us the sync file once a month. So does two things. One, we have at least a somewhat recent copy of our own data should something happen with the Bywater relationship. And
Okay.
two, we use that to sync up. So it's not super current, but once a month we can refresh our data on our test server.
So do they charge you for that, or that was written?
No,
into
they
your-
just did it as part of the setup. I mean, we put it in our RFP that we wanted that.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it was just included in how they priced it, but I think once it was initially set up, it's just scripted that they just send the file once a month and it's sitting there on the first of every month ready for us.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Rebecca asked in chat what was discussed at the Koha-US SIG. By that time it was Friday, and so we were pretty pretty informationed out. So mostly I just kind of showed off some of the stuff that I have done in my notices. Some template toolkit logic that I've put through. I think Fred had a question about notices going duplicates, but we didn't really have an answer to that one without seeing the actual notice. I can't think of anything too much. We did split into two groups, so there was another group that talked about reports with Andrew, and I do not know what they covered, but I'm sure it was really interesting.
It was pretty interesting. Anyone else that was in the report room can jump into. We looked at a report that someone from Brooklyn Law School was creating to that something was going awry with the report with the particular checkout that it was selecting at the time. So Andrew and Valerie helped them get the report corrected and chunked the right way so that it was selecting the correct transaction. So that was interesting to watch. But I feel like we looked at another report too. Couldn't have just been that one. Because we filled the whole hour.
I'm paging through my notes. I might have been too fascinated to write anything down.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was a lot of hands-on troubleshooting and problem solving. So
I've never regretted not going to Koha-Con. I'm really interested in the template toolkit for notices because I am doing something similar. I'm updating all my notices to add new language about a couple of new policies that we have. But I don't I'm working on the Spanish language pack as well for notices. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit later, Juliet, if that's okay, to talk about your how you do your setup for your notices for especially the template toolkit, or if you want to kind of talk about it again here, but that might, if it was an hour long, then maybe it should be like a separate meeting. But yeah.
I'm thinking that that's one of the things I want to talk about in a future meeting.
Mm.
Kind of pool our knowledge together. I'd be interested to see using the Spanish language stuff because we don't do any sorts of translation stuff with our Koha because we don't need to, but it would be really interesting to see.
Well, this is day 2 of testing the Spanish language pack, and staff are just coming back today. We closed yesterday. So we'll see what the response is for today.
Okay, I do have a couple more notes from the report section of the last day of conference. So one thing I learned is that you can't do a select star, like you can't do a select all with the borrowers table because of a password encryption field in there. So if you are ever trying to do a report where you're querying the borrowers table and you're like, give me everything in the borrowers table and it errors out, that is why. And also there is a drop down in the reports interface that I never noticed before up in the left-hand corner that has a list of the runtime parameters that you can use. So like some of those menus, when you use drop down menus to like pick the branch, there's a list of the options for those in the report interface. Never knew that.
If we want to move on, the list of things I have talked about on there are bugs, reports, issues. Those are all kind of related to questions, but does anybody have any bugs that they'd like to get more eyes or comments on in Bugzilla? It was kind of cool at Koha-US because we were sitting in there in the same room with some of the developers. And so then one of us would mention a bug and then we would see that some work or sign off or something would get done that day. And it was just really like exciting to be able to see work being done as we were, you know, talking to each other. I know there was at least one bug that was signed off like right away, first thing, the first day we got started.
I can mention this bug we've talked about in the past, about the weird columns showing up on saved on tables because of the saved configuration states. It looks like that finally got resolved. So the fix got pushed to main on that one.
That one was really weird because it wasn't happening very consistently, and so it was really confusing to see.
So the deal with it was like there's a data table setting where you can set how long before that time's out. And the default is 2 hours. So after 2 hours, it resets the cookie or whatever, and it breaks the display. So it looked like the fix was just setting that to 0 to disable it entirely, the timeout entirely.
Jason, where do you find that setting?
So
set
we
it to
don't
0?
we don't have access to that setting. It's like deep in the
Okay.
code. So like if you want to work around the issue right now, going over to the table settings in Koha and unchecking that box that says saved configuration state will avoid the problem until the fix gets pushed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I was just looking at my bug list. I will say that like conference was great because I kept getting pinged by people copying themselves on bugs. So like I brought up a big list of bugs and they're all getting like more attention than they've had in a while. So that was exciting.
I admit, Jason, I did add myself to some of your bugs when you were mentioning them. I was like, yes, ching, because I was watching from abroad. So it was great that you had those numbers listed as well, so I could find them. It was very helpful.
Yeah, I just added myself to this bug.
I have a reports question if if you don't mind going back a step. I missed it. Sorry. I
think
wanted to
that's where
know.
we're- Yeah.
I wanted to know when people are processing like their end of year fines paid, fines waived. Oh, thank you, Trevor. Where Trevor says reports are never a step backwards. Um, there are so many different account finance tables that I'm struggling to put them all together. I'm trying to find like a good all fines paid report, and I just pasted my link to my SQL. So I started with the account offsets because I need to know the processor who paid that. And so I started with account offsets, and then I joined the debits and the credits, and then switched over to borrowers because obviously I need to know what was being paid for, and then pulled in authorized values. But I'm wondering if someone has a better method that doesn't have so many joins, because this one's really messy, because I kept having to pull, yeah, account lines is in there, Charlie. It's I actually on 2 different lines I pulled in debit and credit. I think this might have been a SQL wiki report as well. But I was wondering if anyone has a fines paid report that includes the processor that doesn't look quite so, that doesn't have so many joins, because I'm pulling all of this information for an entire year. So it's taking quite a bit of time. My workaround has been to pull it every month and then just, keep adding the data in the report, in Excel, like to look at it. So I just wasn't sure if anyone out there had a fines paid report that they really liked versus this one. Thanks.
I don't have anything off the top of my head, but our daily sales report that we run, because we do use the POS module, has just about as many joins, because we also need to know the borrower manager, but we don't join the authorized values table. I'm not sure if that's needed in your, but that's the only, so I think having lots of joins is kind of the issue because of the way they have the debits and the credits set up. It's, you don't get enough information if you only pull from one of those things.
Yeah, I just feel anytime we're dealing with accounting reports, it's just messy.
Mhm.
And if I had a magic wand, it would just be, oh, they have this one table that holds all this financial processing data all at the same time together. So you can see what was paid for. The question is like, how many lost books are being paid for a year? That's the question. But if you pull account lines, then you've got lost returned items. That's, I think, why we're pulling in the authorized value, so we can see that it's a payment. Yeah, it just gets super messy when we're dealing with accounting. It kind of reminds me of like dealing with the MARC records when you're trying to extract something and you've got like the metadata that you're pulling out of like one of the fields that you're extracting the value. Also, action logs are extremely messy when you're trying to pull stuff out. I just wish there was some sort of way that it could be a little bit cleaner. So when we write these reports, we know, like I've written this several ways and I'm still coming up with the same value. So I think I'm good, but I just was wondering if anyone had any other reports that they really liked for fines paid. I have another fines waived report, which is much cleaner because it's easier to track that data because that's just straightforward. So, well, if you need a fines paid report, there you go. I think this one came from the wiki. It was either wiki or Mana, one of the two. And I think I just edited it to add a couple extra fields that we needed. So
Yeah, I dug back through my stuff and I'm not seeing anything any cleaner than that. You might be able to do something to speed it up with like subqueries and stuff, but I'm not very good at those. But yeah, like I come from an era before the account offsets table, and the account offsets table is amazing compared to back then. So it is a lot of joining and rejoining to get all the information. But before we couldn't actually like tie a transaction to a payment very easily. So yeah, I
Rebecca,
don't have any.
sorry, Jason. Rebecca, are you guys using Metabase?
we are.
One thing you might want to look into, and this is, I have very, very limited knowledge here, so I hope this isn't a goose chase, but we had one very complicated query that we opened a ticket to ask, can this be a Koha report? And they, whoever on the data team replied, what would be easier here would be to use a data model, which basically like kind of makes a new table out of a Frankenstein join of other tables that you can basically make a join to just this data model in Metabase. So if you've got something complicated like that, you could open a ticket to ask to see if a data model in Metabase might be a more straightforward thing for when you're running these down the line.
Okay, thanks, Christy. That's a great suggestion. I hadn't thought about that, but that makes perfect sense.
I can't remember who, is it Eric that's kind of been doing some of their
Ian
report?
did all of ours, and then I
Okay.
think he has a Mark underneath working with him.
Probably Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry. Apologies, Mark.
And I don't know if they've added more staff or not. So, but that's good. That's a good path to take to have that into a data model. I wonder if, do you know if the one that you did will break it down by like who paid where and when, like the processor?
So ours was not actually related to accounting or fines, but what it was it would have had to have been calling on so many tables and so many rows that it just would have been kind of a beast of a report to run. So the data model kind of made like a new table that you can just make a join to.
Okay, I'll give that a go. Thank you, Kristi.
Is how I understand it. Now, when you open the ticket, they may be like, I don't know what she was talking about, but here's the data model.
I also wrote one report this week that I'm kind of happy about, but it's messy, so I'm going to put the SQL code there. It's for circulation counts with holds attached to it. So they wanted to know a list of specific items in our tool library. But it wanted a whole report of how many checkouts they had, how many reserves they had, and then how many holds were filled. And I'm really happy about this report until you get to the bib level holds placed column. So basically it's the circs, the checkouts, the issues, the renewals, a total circ, and then the holds placed, the holds filled, and the holds canceled before and after the hold shelf is what this report is. And unfortunately, what I couldn't figure out, and I don't know how this would work, is if you're having holds that are placed, so they're titled level holds, but they're not, they want the information by the item's barcode. So I'm having to repeat the bib record holds on that line. And finally, I just gave up and said, for each barcode, you will have the total number of bib level holds for that time frame, because I could not figure out a way to say, for that specific bib, list this on one title line, one barcode line, but not the other barcode lines, if that makes sense. Because they wanted the item checkouts and the item holds, which would only be holds that were filled or canceled. But they also wanted to know how many holds were placed, but because the holds were placed, they're on a bib level, not the item level. So I struggled with trying to figure out how to list that. Sorry, I was reading Trevor's comment. He says, but doesn't that make sense to repeat that information so I can see everything pertinent to a single item on a single line? Yes, that's true. But if they wanted to know how many holds were placed, I told them just to dedupe it by title or ignore, if it says like a trowel, then just say, if you have 4 trowel barcodes, then just ignore the other three informations. But this is by far one of the most complicated reports I've ever written. And it has a lot of code, and it took a lot. Somebody taught me about the dash and a space with the information in between the sections. That might have been Jason. No, Jason, Andrew, somebody taught me about that. So, but it was a very long report, but it turned out pretty well, except for the bib holds column. So Trevor says, yeah, commenting in your code is very helpful to future you. Future you will thank past you for putting those sections in when you're trying to figure something out. So does anyone else have any cool reports that they did in the last month?
I had to write one that's like a breakdown of Dewey sections with copyright dates for one of my libraries because I want to like develop that collection further. I just finished that this morning. I don't know if it's perfect, but I can share it somewhere.
So is it by tens then, Jason? Or like 300 to 400?
Hundreds, not tens, yeah. There's a paste of it. So it just uses case statements for all the different call number ranges in the select, and then it groups it up. And then it gives a count of items and an average copyright date. But it's like oddly specific because I can't run this report on like an adult shelf location because we're looking just at the J's. So I also had to do a bunch of data cleanup to make it work because they were inconsistent with their spaces before and after the J's. So it's sort of a niche report, but it seems to be accurate from what I can tell. And I did add a little like give me a count of everything that's not following the right scheme at the end so that I could go and look. So they've like genreified a few of their nonfiction books, which is interesting. So the call number doesn't use a Dewey number at all. So that's sort of broken out from the rest of it.
That's a very cool report, Jason.
Actually, both reports are really cool. Rebecca, yours looks really nice.
Thank you.
Got working partly on mine. I'm just replacing some of the values, but it looks really.
I also had a fun report this past month where somebody wanted to know the circulation by ISBN for a call number. They wanted to know a specific call number route, and I've never used a regex before, but somebody had recommended it, and so now I can just do the Dewey Decimal call number route like 641 or 642. They were trying to find the top 50 cookbooks that circulated. And they wanted to know specific ISBNs. And I was like, oh, okay. That's a fun challenge. So I'll post it in the chat too.
I was gonna say, I think I'm gonna need that report too. And I'm testing Jason's now, so I'm pretty excited.
I will say though that the one problem I'm having with that call number report for circulating titles is it's extremely resource heavy. Even with, it's just a call number route. So I try running just like something, like some section that nobody wants to, or nobody checks out, like a, I don't know, science, somewhere in the science collection. And it takes forever to run. So if anyone has any suggestions, I know it's pulling the metadata and that always takes forever, what we've talked about. But if anyone has any suggestions on how to make that not quite so intense, or so labor intensive or system intensive, I would be grateful for that information.
So your where statement is looking at your item call number. I mean, technically you could omit the metadata entirely because you can pull item type from, I guess you're excluding suppressed records too. You could try it without the metadata and maybe still get some of those fields in there because that usually goes a little faster. So like you get the bib material type from the 942C from your biblio table. The bib call number would be a tricky one. And the suppression, is suppression in biblio or biblio items?
Might be in biblio. I'll have to look. The
looking at
reason I
my
pulled the
mappings.
item call number is because they wanted circulation. No, this isn't the circulation one. Sorry. We used the item call number and we have different locations. So the bib call number wasn't giving them the right information. So it was also excluding things like, the reason I used the root call number regex is because we had like Spanish and large type and Spanish large type, things that had a prefix. So that's why I was using the item call number as opposed to the bib call number. But feel free to edit that however you would like, if you want to use that for yourself.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna definitely borrow this one. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that one too. I did look at my mark mappings and it doesn't look like there's not a database field storing the suppression in biblio items or biblio.
I feel like that should be something that's there though. Maybe we need to add that as a ticket or a bug, because the fact that you have to join the metadata table, which is so cumbersome and messy and takes up so many resources. I almost wish that there was some way on like the schema. I was trying to say SQL and my brain kept saying the wrong word. The schema database, it's like, if you mess with this table, you're going to be, like a red box of warning. Like, if you're looking at the bib media data, this is a danger zone. Like, a black box on cigarettes is what you need or we need a black box on the table schema.
All right, anything else that anyone wants to talk about? Anything in the upgrade that's coming up this month that you're excited about or worried about? I haven't really found anything to even tell my staff, hey, this is happening. So
Red box is up. Really excited about that.
what's that?
So the red box that usually tells people, oh yeah, your upgrade is coming on this date, basically. It's up in our server, and I'm really excited because now staff are like, oh, it's coming, and I'm like, yep, it's what I told you a couple months ago. Now you can see it too.
I guess the big thing that I need to talk to my staff about is the fact that they can edit transaction notes now or add more notes. And so I'll want them to know not to go crazy with that. But it'll be really nice to be able to go in and add notes and edit the notes that you've already added.
I'm
We're
excited
excited
for
about-
those. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angela.
We're just excited about showing the difference in the modification logs, knowing exactly what was changed. The original bug for that was 35645, and it was about making it pretty. So this is kind of the interim. We just want to see it. And now I'm trying to comment on the original bug and be like, okay, we can see it. Now let's make it pretty. Because we want to be able to actually read it.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to be able to add additional fields to the libraries. Like I'd like to have, this is the branch manager, this is the branch assistant manager. And so that we have 19 buildings, so people know who they're calling when they try to get out to, I need to talk to someone at Cedar Bluff branch, they know who the manager is. And I can create a report that will show that. So I like being able to add additional fields to libraries.
I like the breakout, like the clickable barcodes on items that'll be on the bib records now. So you don't have to go into like the item table, you can just go on to like the left-hand nav side and click on items and all the barcodes will be clickable under there. That was a recent Monday Minute. I'm also excited about boosting exact title searches in Elasticsearch. We're going to enable that stat.
So that was in the Bywater special sauce, and I turned it on, and it's not doing anything for me. I've got a ticket
Oh.
open about that.
Really?
Yeah, like, because we've been having a lot of issues with searching lately. I think one of the examples was Snowball. So like if you search the title Snowball, the first result is like an e-resource record of a title, the Snowball, but the actual physical copy is on the second page. It's like result 20 something. So like those two things should be side by side. We're having lots of trouble with searching, especially one word titles. I mean, we've always had some issues, but the boost made it sound like it would help that situation, but it hasn't done anything for me yet.
I know I was there when they were doing the upgrade webinar and they did an example with it. I think it was it. And it has always been a hard title to find anyway. Well, because it's just the one word and everything, and it pulls everything basically. But I felt like they were fairly successful with the example that they had in the upgrade webinar. I'm looking for the webinar now, see if I can put it in the chat.
Is that the What's New webinar? It should be on the Upgrade Hub.
Jason, were you referring to looking for titles with Aspen, not Elasticsearch, right? No, neither.
No, we don't have Aspen, so just within Koha and Elastic.
Oh, because we're not having an issue ever since I think I changed some setting. I was in some meeting and there was some setting. I think you were in it.
Yeah, there's
you remember?
this This
Go ahead.
system preference, the Elasticsearch Boost Field Match, is on our live production system right now. That's one that is coming in the upgrade, but Bywater backported it. So I did try that on and off, and it's not making any difference in these searches that I'm having trouble with.
Okay, thanks.
We're still on Zebra. I don't know if we're ever gonna move. All right. Well, I'm gonna say one last call for anything else anyone wants to talk about. I'm all out of ideas, so,
I've got a holds cube question.
okay.
Or actually, I see Chip unmuted, so I'm gonna let Chip go because I've.
Yeah, I have a holds question. We've had a couple instances where staff had accidentally don't place two holds when they insist they only wanted to place one. And yeah, it happened again yesterday, two instances, same person, same day, and she doesn't know how that's happening. And I'm wondering if that's a bug. I've been trying to replicate it by double clicking at certain points in the process to see if that's how that's happening, but not getting much so far. But has anybody else heard of that? Staff accidentally placing two holds in one, they search the patron, they find the item and place the hold, and then there's two holds in this confirmation screen.
Yes, but I thought they fixed that. We had that problem for a long time where we were getting not just two, but like three or four. And I had a duplicate hold report that I was going through and canceling extra holds that were placed like that. But I thought that bug we had a ticket in with Bywater and I thought it was fixed. But
Okay.
I'm sorry if it's not. Let me go see if I can find it.
Yeah. And by the way, we use have for Koha staff pretty consistently use the Edge browser and incognito mode, or whatever Edge calls that mode. So, oh, look at all the links. Okay, I'll take a look at those. That's very helpful. So yeah, okay. So I'll take a look at those and see where we go from here. I want to place cameras behind everybody who's using Koha to see what's on their screen, but that's not a popular idea. Just kidding. And that's all I've got.
You don't want to see mine, it's a mess.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what browser is everyone using to run their Koha? Like, do you have a default preset browser to run Koha?
We recommend that our staff use Firefox because that's what we were told a long time ago that it ran best on. So most people in ours use Firefox, but some people do use Chrome or Edge.
IT likes it when we use Edge, so they've put that on a lot of desktops. But I've been wanting to try Firefox. But that would be an IT ask.
I was just wondering if Chip's problem also might be something about Edge. Because I'm with you, Juliet. I remember them saying it was either Firefox or Chrome. Excuse me. When we set it up, but I think Chip, I can't remember. Are you a newer implementation than we were in 2020?
Oh, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary.
Okay.
Do
Do you remember if they recommended a specific browser?
I don't remember, but I think our IT made a decision to use Edge and in private mode just to prevent any caching I guess as a kind of security and patron privacy thing. But who knows, that might be causing a problem.
Well, we chose Firefox and then told everyone to use that because we only wanted to configure one browser to print receipts. We didn't want to have to configure multiple browsers. We said, everybody, you're using Firefox, and set their, because we're IT and system administration, so we got to choose, push down and say, you're using that one. And so we also set it to use the private mode and to clear the cache every day. So when Bywater says, don't forget to clear your cache after the upgrade, we don't, I just erase that from the little red box because we do it every day for them. It's just how Firefox starts whenever they start up the browser. Now, people who don't print receipts can use whatever browser they want, but if you're printing receipts, Firefox.
Do you still have your holds queue question, Charlie?
Yes, I do. So my holds queue are kind of acting a little bit wonky right now, where library A's books are still popping up on library B's holds queue. I'm wondering if maybe instead of it's an active ticket, like I have an active ticket and they're, you know, it's been like, I feel like this is related to that ticket. But I've had this ticket open since 2024, if anything. But I wondered if anybody else is like experiencing this. I know back in 2024, it was a big thing, but this, it pops up at like intermittently. So it's like I can't like pin it down or recreate it sometimes. But they take screenshots, so I believe them.
Like the holds queue is showing a book that should be at a different library.
So the holds queue for library A is showing something that's on the shelf in library B. Yeah. We used to have the in transit issue where it would show the in transit item or something that shouldn't be on the holds queue, but I feel like that's been resolved. Now we're dealing with the stuff that are on the shelf or in the holding branch. I don't know. But yeah, if anybody's having an issue with their holds queue, has anyone seen this?
I have the same question Trevor does. Is the holding library, current library, matching the home library, or is the holding current library the place of the queue?
So I've actually just noticed that recently with some of them have a different holding library, but I am still seeing where the holding library is the holds queue library. So that's why I'm a little confused because it seems to be like both. I thought if I could just change the holding library to match, but
Yeah, so we run into this semi-frequently where like a patron will place a hold, it'll go to another library, then the patron doesn't pick it up. So the library will cancel the hold, but they won't check it in again. So then it looks like it's setting at that library, so it shows up on their queue when another hold gets placed. So there's a system preference called automatic confirm transfer that we have to have on, like gone back and forth with that one over the years, but like if they click out of the modal without clicking yes, and that's not turned on, then it'll make it available at the wrong library. Whereas this forces it to go back into transit anytime they check it in and it's not their item, so that there's like a forced transfer on it, and that prevents this as well from happening as much.
this is perfect, actually. I have it on don't right now, so I think I might just turn it on. Oh, perfect.
I run a report every day to look for items that have been I call them the orphaned items, where someone canceled a hold and didn't take it off the hold shelf. Emailing the branch, okay, got another orphaned item, go pull it. And they find it and they check it in and send it on its way. But I probably find 10, 12 of those a week, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but they can't stay where they're not supposed to be. And a lot of times they'll say, I don't understand why it's on my hold queue. Because it's on your hold shelf and it's not supposed to be there.
This helps a lot. Thank you. Okay, one more. Are Hotmail email addresses like a problem for notices for Koha?
Not typically. One thing you might note is, like if somebody's swearing up and down that they have not blocked you, then you can check with your IT department, like whatever email your notices are coming from. Sometimes that email account will end up on its Amazon simple email server suppression list. So, we've had a couple times where, like, we've confirmed with the patron that they definitely want to get emails from us. And then we check with our IT department to see, is this, like, are we getting bounce backs to our automated notification email address that this, from this account? And then we go to Bywater and say, hey, can you clear this email address from the suppression list? I don't know if anybody else has run into that too.
It seems to happen to us with Yahoo more often than any other email group.
Perfect. So I'll get IT on this.
I feel like tis the season for questions about notification receipt, whether it's text messages or email.
Right. And I picked the right time to change everything, so. The screen jumping, there's a fix for that in the chat. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Jason.
that bug, I linked to the comment with the fix. You just put that in your or internet user CSS, and that'll stop that really annoying scrolling, jumping thing from happening.
Or you could do what I did and submit a Bywater ticket and tell them to do it.
All right. Well, I've got to go right at 10. So I just wanted to make sure everybody remembers, if you're a Koha-US member, you should have gotten an email for the voting on the developments. So if you want to go ahead and make sure that you vote on that. And then there is, if you can click into the agenda, there's a survey about this group. If you take some time and fill out that survey. Also, I didn't do a very good job taking notes. So if you think of something that we talked about, you want to add to the agenda, feel free to do that so that we kind of have a history. Otherwise, we can always go back and watch the video again. But thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and take off, but I'll let you guys wrap up if you want.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. See you next month.